Thank you, Conchetta and Donna and members of Wild Ones for hosting me today. Let me just make sure I'm on the right screen. Okay, so as Conchetta said, my name is Jennifer Vaccaro. I'm with ShoreRivers. But previous to my tenure with ShoreRivers, I had a lot of experience with invasive species management. So what qualifies me to stand up here and talk to you guys today? What do I know? This is me on a very steep slope of Japanese hops at the Laurel Hill Cemetery. They have a green burial section in Philadelphia many years ago. And I spent a lot of time working with my husband, who's a licensed professional forester, in his forest stewardship business. And we did a lot of invasive species management. So I had a lot of boots on the ground experience with tackling these plants and long-term processes to get them under control and allow the native vegetation to regain a foothold and become a healthy ecosystem again. Prior to that, my background is in landscape architecture. So I have a degree in landscape architecture from Temple University, and the focus of my practice has always been natural solutions. So whether it's conservation landscapes with native plants or rain gardens to deal with stormwater runoff issues, that has been the focus of my career. And now I'm fortunate enough to call myself a member of the ShoreRivers staff. ShoreRivers is your riverkeeper organization. For anybody not familiar with ShoreRivers, or maybe somebody out, I don't know if everybody online is familiar with ShoreRivers, but we are your riverkeeper organization. We are your water quality advocates for the Choptank River, as well as three other watersheds: the Chester River watershed, the Sassafras River watershed, and the Miles Y Eastern Bay complex. So each of those watersheds has a river keeper who is the voice of that river. And I am in the community engagement department. So I get to do fun things like come out and talk with you all. And I also manage our Tree the Shore program and our River Friendly Yards program. So I will talk a little bit about those at the end. But for now, let's get into the program. So we're going to talk a lot about invasive plants, but I think it's important first to ground ourselves in what is a native plant. So native plants naturally occurred here long before settlers came from Europe and other continents and started to bring plants that they were familiar with from their homelands. They co-evolved over tens of thousands of years with the animals and insects that were here naturally. So they have a very important symbiotic relationship with each other. They are adapted to our regional growing conditions, so they naturally are going to require less care because they're adapted to live in the soils that we have, and they're adapted to live within the climate that we have. Although that climate is changing, and so we are seeing some natural species migration. I think that's going to happen over time, and some people are starting to help that migration along by planting things that naturally occur a little bit south of our growing region, knowing that they're going to be adapted to our warming climate here. Why are they important? So many of our insects are specialists, meaning that they rely on one particular genus, or even in some cases, one particular species of plants in order to complete their life cycle. So a lot of times we think about pollinators and we think about food sources for those pollinators, but equally important is the ability for them to lay eggs and have those eggs hatch and be successful at completing their life cycle. So our insects are very integrally involved with our bird population. So I know that Denton is becoming a bird city. So if you want birds, you need bugs because Birds rely exclusively on insects to raise their young. They cannot take seed from your bird seeder and feed their babies. They need insects, and they need thousands and thousands of insects to raise one clutch of baby birds. And so, our ecosystems we think about a food chain. Like a lot of us growing up, I think we're all of an age where we learned about the food chain in science class, but it's not really a chain. It's a web. And it's all very interrelated and complicated. And so plants are at the base of that, having the native plants that have the specific amino acids and compounds that our insects and birds rely upon is really important. And because of habitat fragmentation and loss due to, development, us creating our agricultural system and having places where we live and work and play, we have lost a lot of those native plants. And what we tend to put back into the landscape are things that are not native to here. If you think about like the most popular tree that people want is a crepe myrtle. That's from China. It provides absolutely no habitat value whatsoever. And so we, as a species in this food web, can start to put those plants back into our managed landscapes and provide that habitat. So what is an invasive plant? Well, every plant that's not native isn't by default considered invasive. So there are native plants, non-native plants, and there are invasive plants. There are plants that are aggressive. So think grapevine or, I'm having a brain fart, with the 5 leaves and a vine, conchetta, Virginia creeper, thank you. My brain does that. So those are both native plants, but they are very aggressive. And so oftentimes people think, oh, this plant is so invasive, it's taking over my garden bed. But it's actually meant to be here, and it's just a little over exuberant. But an invasive plant is a plant that is from outside of this native plant range. It did not co-evolve here. People brought it here. And it spreads aggressively, and it outcompetes and displaces the native plants that are meant to be in this ecosystem. And it often results in a monoculture. So you'll only have that thing in a place where there used to be many, many, many different species coexisting together and creating a habitat. So it usually doesn't have many predators. It's usually highly adaptable and able to live in under harsh conditions. It outcompetes the native species. It thrives in disturbed systems. So oftentimes, when you cut something down or do some grading, this is what's going to pop up because it likes that disturbance. And it can reproduce quickly, sometimes by multiple vectors, meaning it creates a whole heck of a lot of seed, but it also spreads by runners. Or if you cut a little piece of it off and it washes downstream and ends up on a shoreline somewhere, it can create roots from that cutting. So there are many ways that it has to replicate itself. And so you can see an example on the screen there of one of our worst threats from invasive plants, which is English ivy, and that is taking over that tree canopy right there. So why do we want to remove invasive plants? I've had people say to me, well, they're here, they're the most successful thing out there in the woodlands, so maybe that's just like the new ecosystem, like why bother? Well, because they're crowding out the native plants, and we know now that they don't provide the habitat that the insects and the birds and other animals need, it is a problem. And oftentimes vines that are going up into trees like this will end up bringing those trees down. And so we're losing some of our forests in this way, because when the vines get up in the canopy, they create a lot of weight up there, and they also start to create kind of a sail effect. So when we have a lot of rain and the soil gets, nice and loose and wet, and then we get a big wind, that sail can bring the tree down. And then you're putting, because the tree's down, you're putting more light into the system, and more light means those invasives can start to go a little crazier, and it just becomes a feedback loop. So some people say to me, well, I see all kinds of birds on my or insects on my butterfly bush. So clearly it must be beneficial. But animals are going to eat the thing that it provides them the most nutrition. They know what they need. But if that thing is not available to them, they're not going to just starve to death. They're going to take what they can find around them. And so, yes, they will go and eat, the porcelain berries off of your porcelain berry vine, or, the nectar from your butterfly bush. But it doesn't give them the specific nutrition that they need to migrate over thousands of miles. It doesn't give them the nutrition that they need to thrive through the winter, or, as we just discussed, replicate themselves. So I like the analogy of, you could give your kids or your grandkids a big bag of Doritos for dinner, and their belly would be full. They would be satiated, but they wouldn't get the nutrition that they need to thrive, right? So, like, we know that intuitively. So it's giving animals invasive plants as a diet is basically like giving them junk food. It does not help them thrive and survive. So we in Maryland have the Forest Conservation Act, and the Forest Conservation Act basically created a lot of this. So like a lot of like long, skinny sections of forest. And so we don't have a lot of those like forest interiors. And these long, skinny forests, what they have is a lot of edge. And edge gives a lot of light into the forest, which allows a lot of these invasive species to, the seeds to come up and get established and thrive. And so while we've done a great job of protecting forests through our development laws, we haven't done a great job of maintaining that forest. And so all these long, skinny forests that were conserved aren't actually being maintained. And so the invasives are taking them over because they have all of this edge, which creates a lot of light and is an opportunity. So I always forget that these slides have transitions, and I need to take them out. So what I like to tell people before we get started on the like, how do I do it, is that invasive species management is not a project. It's not a thing we're going to do this year. It's a process. And it takes years and years and years of, treat, monitor, repeat, and keeping your eye out and not letting things gain a foothold again. Because a lot of these things that create a lot of seed, that seed lives in the seed bank for a long time, sometimes 20, 25 years. It's viable down there, just waiting for a little disturbance so that it can germinate and grow. So there are 3 ways that you can work on managing invasive species. The first is what we call biological management. So that's by insects, such as the mile-a-minute weevil or the kudzu bug. Some of those things have been introduced here to try to devastate those plants. There are diseases such as the Rosa rosetta disease, which is not something that we've intentionally released, but it is present out there in the ecosystem, and I have seen it sometimes on multiflora rose. Like, you can tell that it's suffering from that Rosa rosetta disease. Yes, suffer. And then herbivory. So I have a little picture of a goat down here. when my husband and I were working together, we managed eco goats as one arm of our business. And so we had a herd of goats that we took around to do targeted grazing. People get very excited about bringing goats in to work on invasive species. And what we always like to tell people is that the goats are like sending in the Marines to secure the beach. Like, they're the very first step to deal with an issue where you have such a terrible infestation that you can't put people in there to tackle it. And the goats can basically reduce the biomass and get it to a point where now people with tools can go in and start to work on it. They don't have magical poisonous saliva that kill invasive plants, but they are just one tool in the toolbox. They're great for community engagement. They get people excited about a project. They get people aware that there's a problem. Like, oh, wow, yeah, I knew this was all green, but I just thought that was normal. I mean, once you see, you can't unsee, but a lot of people happily drive down Route 50 and have no idea that like all that biomass that's alongside the road is really not that great. So that's biological control. And then we have mechanical or manual control. So cutting, mowing, burning, or hand pulling, these are all ways to effectively manage most invasive species. And these mechanical methods are basically creating a repeated assault on the root systems of these plants. Because as you cut that plant to the ground, it then has to dig into its root system, pull some energy out of those roots to push a new stem up out of the ground. And when it does that, you want to come along and whack it back off and not give it a chance to photosynthesize and send that energy back down and rebuild those roots. And so every time you do that, you weaken the roots a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And that's why it's a process and not a project. That has been an extremely effective management tool in my experience, especially if you have people who are skilled at plant ID. Because my husband and I would go through the woods, we would have oscillating hedge trimmers on a 6-foot pole, like a steel combi unit was the name of the tool. And we could say, oh, you're a little oak seedling, I'm not going to touch you. But you're a porcelain berry seedling. Whack, and we'd cut it down. And so as you go through and you selectively cut what's coming up in the woods, you give the native species that competitive advantage, and it can grow. It's not impeded by the invasives around it, and it can start to shade out that area. And so then seeds that are down in that seed bank are shaded, and they're not as likely to germinate. And so it's just a long process of selectively cutting the bad guys and leaving the good guys. So the third way of dealing with invasive species is what sometimes you got to call in the chemical warfare. There's a short list of species that, in my experience, you're just not going to win against unless you pull this tool out of your toolbox. So that is Phragmites, bamboo, kudzu, ailanthus, lesser celandine, and wisteria. Some of these plants, like ailanthus and wisteria, if you cut them and you don't apply chemicals, game on. They come back worse. So wisteria in particular, if you cut that, it has really long runners. And when you cut it, it sends a signal to it that says, Mayday, Mayday, you're under threat. And it throws suckers up all along that root system. So instead of one wisteria vine on a tree, now you've got 20 wisteria vines coming up in your woodland. So we never would cut wisteria unless we knew that somebody with a license was going to come behind us and spray that wisteria. You always, always, always want to use a licensed pesticide applicator if you are working with these herbicides, or at least consult with one to get the proper formulation and timing. So lots of people think, oh, more chemical means, you know, more firepower, but in fact, if you formulate too strongly, you will burn off the top of that plant, but you won't affect its root system. And that's not the point of herbicides. The point of herbicides is to get down in there and kill the root. You want a long, slow kill of these plants. You don't want to see them shrivel up and die the day after you sprayed them. You want to see them yellow over time. And then you know you're getting a good root kill. So, you know, there are applications where you can do it yourself, but like I just always recommend that you make sure that you consult with somebody who has training that can help you know. Also timing, right? So knowing when to apply these chemicals. For instance, Phragmites. If you spray Phragmites in the spring, you are wasting your money and putting chemicals into the environment unnecessarily. You want to spray Phragmites mid-August to mid-October, because that is when it is translocating sugars down into its roots. It's storing up food for the winter. And so things are moving down, and it's going to bring that herbicide down into the roots and kill the roots. If you spray it in the summer, you're going to burn off the top, and that's pretty much it. It's going to come right back because it has massive roots. So always good to know the timing, and then also the proper herbicide. Glyphosate is the go-to for a lot of people. It's what we're familiar with, but it is not always the appropriate chemical. There are a lot of different chemicals out there, and different ones are advantageous for different species of plants. So let's talk a little bit about hand pulling. This is a great thing to do with volunteers. And there are a few different species that hand pulling is very effective at. So stiltgrass and garlic mustard, which are both pictured here, are excellent hand pulling plants. They're easy to pull out of the soil, particularly if you're not in a drought and the soil is somewhat loose. You can, you know, get volunteers out there. They're easy to identify. Get volunteers out there to pull. You can have a contest, you know, get people to weigh in their bag at the end, who pulled the most pounds of garlic mustard. And there is a specific time of year when these are easy to identify, like in early spring, and you can get out there and pull them and stop them from putting out any seed that year. So they are great candidates for that. Like garlic mustard, I feel like there's really no point in spraying this if you can pull it. It's just not, it's not one that's necessary because it's so easy to get. Cutting is a great, you know, that repeated cutting technique that I talked about is great for vines and shrubs. So, you know, your Oriental bittersweet, multiflora rose, porcelain berry, honeysuckle, and English ivy. These are all great to cut. The English ivy was also mentioned on my slide about hand pulling. So when that is growing along the ground or up a tree, you can cut it off of the tree, but then it's really easy to pull up out of the ground. It has very shallow, kind of ropey roots, and can be very satisfying. Like you to just like keep going and going and going and pulling that. It can be pretty cathartic. Winter is an excellent time to work on that because the woods is a little more accessible. You can kind of get in there and see what you're doing. Poison ivy isn't in the leaf, so it's not likely to smack you on the face because poison ivy and English ivy are often in proximity to each other, you know, going up trees. But then also shrubs, autumn olive, bush honeysuckle, Japanese barberry, and euonymus. These are all great if you can just go out with your loppers, or if they're not too thick, you can use that oscillating hedge trimmer gas powered or battery powered. Now they have them. They're great. For vines, I like to use what's known as the window technique. So what you want to do is cut those vines as high up as you can reach when they're growing up trees. And then you want to cut them again at the ground and get them away from the tree. In most instances, you can then chop them up basically, and they'll just lay down on the ground like mulch, and that's fine. That does not create a problem. They're not going to reroot. They'll just desiccate and die. The exception to that is English ivy. You do not want to ever leave English ivy laying on the ground because it will immediately root and make new plants. That is one that you want to put in a plastic garbage bag and put in your garbage. You do not want to put it in a paper bag and put it out for yard waste to pick up, because some poor soul will get cuttings of that in their mulch or their compost. So that it has to go in the garbage. An alternative to that, if you want to like lay it out on asphalt somewhere and let it desiccate out in the sun, and when you can tell that it is 100% dead, then you could compost that or put it out for yard waste. That's fine. But you just, you have to be in a situation where that's practical. So when you don't want to pull the vines from the canopy. So when you make that cut up high and the cut down low, and now you've created this, like you can kind of see in the slide, there's a section at the bottom of that tree trunk. You can see the vines above it are dead, and then there's nothing below. You don't want to pull those vines out of the canopy. They are going to naturally desiccate and die and fall out of the tree over time. When you start pulling them out of the canopy, you risk damaging that canopy, and you're not going to get them all out of there. So it's not worth it. But by creating this window pane, you can now like easily scan the wood line and see, ooh, I can see there's a vine growing up that tree. It's new growth. I'm going to go and I'm going to cut it again and get it out of there. Whereas if you just cut the vines at the ground and let them continue to hang up the tree, it becomes difficult to kind of scan and know if you have fresh infestation. And also, those vines give scaffolding to the new growth to climb and get back up into the tree. So it's important to make that window pane. And then you're going to repeatedly come back and cut those new root sprouts and not allow them to photosynthesize and feed the roots. If you don't want to come back and repeatedly cut, or you don't have the manpower to come back and repeatedly cut, you can take the approach of cutting and painting. So you cut the vine at the top, cut it at the bottom, and on that freshly made cut, you put a little bit of stump killer. If you're doing this on your own property and it's vines, the most effective thing that I've found is there's like a little white bottle that's called like root and stump killer. It usually has triclopyr in it, and it has a brush that's attached to the cap of the bottle. And so you can just brush that on to the freshly cut vine. And that should go down. It doesn't require any dilution. It's already formulated. It should go down and kill the roots. That's the only recommendation I ever make for herbicide, is that specific treatment with that specific product. Or if you're doing a very large project and you have a licensed pesticide applicator that is going to come in behind you, then you can time your project such that you're cutting and he's going through and painting with herbicide. And you can work that out with a professional that would create an appropriate timing schedule. So for English ivy, I kind of already said all of this, but you can kind of see in the picture, like there was massive vines growing up that tree that got cut up high. And then you can see below that there's no green, and the vines above it have already like withered and died. There's no leaves on them. But you can also, if you're working, so when it's growing up the tree like that and it's really thick, sometimes you can use loppers to get at it. Sometimes it's too big to use loppers and you need to use something like a brush axe. And you just kind of chop through that vine. And then you can use a spade to kind of peel it down off the tree. You never want to work up, you always want to work down. And just take care that you're not damaging the tree. And then you want to pull the runners up to create a minimum of a 3-foot diameter life preserver around that tree. And the 3 feet is basically giving you enough time that that vine could continue to grow for a year and it would just reach the base of the tree and not be going up into the canopy again. And then you sort of work your way out from there. On the bottom, I have a picture of a woman who's working on the English ivy growing along the ground. And you can see she's sort of rolling that up like a carpet. If you can get a spade into the ground and get the spade underneath of the root mat of the English ivy, and this is when it's like really dense that you need to do this. You can, if you get the spade underneath it there, you can start to just roll it up like a carpet. And it's very shallowly rooted. You can see that she didn't have to go very far to get underneath of those roots. And then you're probably going to have like little bits of root here and there that you miss, and you'll get little sproutlets that will be easy to go back and just pull by hand after the fact. So repeatedly doing that, or you can repeatedly, if it's accessible, you can repeatedly mow it or weed whack it to just starve those roots. But sometimes that's not practical and you have to hand pull it. You can treat, if you have a really big vine, sometimes when it really gets going up in the tree canopy, you'll find that it's no longer creating a carpet of English ivy along the forest floor. It's just all up in the tree. So when you cut that big vine, you can treat that so that you're getting down into the root and not getting a bunch of root sprouts from it.
And do you suggest the same between like August and October for any time
for I will confess that I am not sure. I'm not sure if you can effectively use herbicide on it all year round or not.
And can you use that on like the invasive trees too? The root?
Yes, like Ailanthus. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, triclopyr is typically good for most woody species. There are some that are just stubborn enough that they need something nastier. And I leave that to the experts to tell, to say. But most of the species that we're talking about today, triclopyr would be effective on. Bamboo, except bamboo. Yes. Bamboo is a nasty one. So the problem with bamboo is it's often growing across property lines. So, you have an issue where you may need to work with your neighbors. Neighbors may or may not be willing to work with you. So, if it's growing into your yard, most people are just taking, we have a gentleman in the audience who was talking about it before the presentation. He goes out and just snaps off the fresh sprouts, which stops it from continuing to spread. You can, that's one that's on my list of you really need herbicides and you need the proper formulation and the proper timing so that you can start to knock back that root system. It's a big clone. So basically, if you have a stand of bamboo, it's really all one plant. It's all connected underground. And so if you start to spray it anywhere, you're affecting the whole colony. You can repeatedly mow it for 2 or 3 years and starve it out if you're able to access the entire patch. And then, of course, using herbicide. I definitely recommend talking to a professional to manage that. It's a nasty one. That is one that, like, you got to kind of go to nastier herbicides to really get at. I think we worked on a project in Sandy Point State Park that had massive acres and acres of bamboo. And I think they were using something called Invasive there. But yeah, that's a tough one. Shrubs, what's pictured here is privet. That's spread, a lot of them are spread by birds and people who have them in their yards. So things that my husband and I typically would see a lot of thickets of in the woods would be privet, Japanese barberry, euonymus, also known as burning bush, autumn olive, and bush honeysuckle. Those are the common invasive shrubs that we would see colonizing in the woods. So, repeated hand cutting is, I think, the most effective, or cut and paint with herbicide. You can get really ambitious and try to dig the roots out, but Lord, that's hard. That's a lot of work. And so cut stump applications of herbicide, if you aren't able to come back and repeatedly cut, is effective. I will say a number of these shrubs are now, effective December 31st, illegal to grow, sell, or transport in the state of Maryland. It's going to take a couple of years for them to phase out because nurseries that already have them in the pipeline are going to be allowed to buy them. Go buy them and throw them away. So we are starting to work on that. I am on the Invasive Plant Advisory Committee, and I'm really excited that we now have 13 species in the state of Maryland that are on that list and starting the process. And by the end of 2026, we will have 20 more. So we're working on it.
Both of those are on the list?
2 species of bamboo are on the list. And did we do a species of privet yet? I think we did. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many. But barberry, is on there. Every developer's favorite foundation plant. That one is out of here. So I should have brought that list with me, and it's like new information, so I didn't think about it. It is, yeah. If you go to the Invasive Plant Advisory Committee website, which is under Maryland Department of Agriculture, you can find that list. And I'm going to add it to my presentation so I have it next time. So when you want to undertake removing invasive species, where do you start? You've got places like the photo on the left that are just like completely engulfed. You've got, places on the right that are, I would say, medium. And then you've got places where, maybe you have a smattering of invasives, but they haven't really started to take over and push out the natives yet. So my advice is start at the place where it's not that bad. Because while you're busy working on this nightmare, when you finish and turn around, you'll have another one. So, first line of defense, keep the good habitat in a good, healthy state. And that doesn't take that much time. And then work your way over to where it looks medium impacted. Deal with the medium impact, and then deal with it, because this is like, it's already really bad. I also advise saving your trees first. So before you deal with, say, the English ivy that's growing along the ground, get it out of the tree canopies. Get the porcelain berry and the bittersweet out of the tree canopy. Like just getting those vines just cut so that they're not creating that terrible sale effect that is going to potentially impact the health of the tree and the tree falling down and putting more light into the forest and pouring more gas onto the fire. How much should you bite off? I think it's, you want to work on an area that you're going to be able to maintain. So you know that you have the manpower to be able to come back at least 2 and preferably 3 times in a growing season to hit it again. That's like best practice. I mean, best practice would be if you could be out there every month, but that's not realistic. But 2 to 3 times in a growing season will absolutely start to turn the tide on that landscape. So, you want to make sure that you aren't saying, okay, well, we're going to deal with this 8 acres because that's just overwhelming. Take it an acre at a time and work your way through it. Bigger if you have lots of people. When are volunteers appropriate? If you're using herbicide, probably not. I think that's probably a big insurance no to give your volunteers herbicide. Same with power tools. And every organization is going to be different. If you have volunteers show up with their own power tool and you have the right waivers to say, hey, I'm assuming that you know how to use that piece of equipment safely and I'm not liable if you hurt yourself, great, but you might have to worry about them hurting somebody else. So depending on what that tool is. So usually you're going to want to be working with hand tools or doing hand pulling. So, things like loppers are great projects for volunteers. And then when it gets beyond that, I think you usually want to work with a professional company. And maybe what you do is the professional company comes in and they secure the beachhead, right? They come in with power tools and they get everything cut down and onto the ground. And then you've got your volunteers to come back and monitor and hand pull or lopper. Yes.
Do you know who that company is?
I do have at the end of the presentation a few suggestions. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I mean, a lot of times that's the way to do it, is just like your volunteers come back and they monitor. Okay, today we're all going to look and see if there are any sproutings of porcelain berry. Here's a picture of what it looks like. Go look for this particular plant. And if you see it, pull it or cut it. Timing. So a lot of times winter is a wonderful time to do this work because it's easier to move through the woods. Things haven't leafed out, so you can see what you have a little easier. Sometimes there's an advantage to having leaves on things because they're easier to identify. So I would say when you get to the stage of we're going to monitor and selectively pull, you probably want things to be in leaf so that you can easily know that that's an oak seedling and not a porcelain berry seedling coming up. But for that initial, all the vines are growing up, all the trees, winter is great. Also, there's less risk of poison ivy. People are covered. They're wearing layers. They don't have a lot of exposed skin. So poison ivy is not as much of an issue. But when you are putting volunteers out into the field, I think it's really important to educate them and make sure that they know how to identify poison ivy, both in leaf and out of leaf. It's classic when it has leaves on and when it doesn't have leaves. My favorite little saying is only a dope would touch a hairy rope. I learned that from somebody at Jug Bay wetland sanctuary in Anne Arundel County. And so like, that's a great way to identify poison ivy going up a tree. If it's English ivy, it'll have leaves on it. It's also a hairy rope, but in the wintertime, it doesn't have any leaves and it's hairy. It's probably poison ivy and you really ought not touch it because the vine itself has the oils on it. Teaching people to clean their tools after being in the field, use that 91% isopropyl alcohol. There's two variations. One is, I think, 71%. That's like the one that most people have in their medicine cabinet, but you can get 91%. That will break down that urushiol oil that comes off of poison ivy. And so cleaning your tools with that, cleaning, your hands or exposed skin with that. My husband and I always kept that in our truck. And that was the first thing we did, was wipe down with that when we came out of the woods, because, sometimes it takes some time before we could get home and take a shower, and we didn't really want to get poison ivy. Personal protective equipment. So wear your PPEs, make sure people are wearing gloves. Even some folks do react with contact dermatitis to English ivy. Like, I've had that happen to me where I was pulling a vine and it broke and it snapped and smacked me across my hand, and I got pretty nasty contact dermatitis from that. So making sure that people are, protecting their eyes, protecting themselves from contact dermatitis. You're probably not going to have volunteers running power tools, but if you are running power tools, you should be wearing, face covering. You should make sure, if you're running a chainsaw or something like that, that you have chaps on. Always making sure that you're wearing your personal protective equipment. So finding a site, if you're looking to work with volunteers, there's lots of public, school properties, town and county parks, churches and cemeteries, state parks that are all loaded with invasives and don't have the money or the manpower to deal with it. So if you have a group that's looking for a project, they're out there. And then obviously we all have issues on our own personal property. So there are no vacuums in nature. When you take away plants, nature will put them back. And if you leave it up to nature, you have to make sure that you are able to monitor and see that what is coming back is actually beneficial and not more of the bad guys. So sometimes you want to make sure that you are going in and planting, particularly in a place where a lot of forest canopy has been impacted. You've lost a lot of trees. You want to get those good trees back in there. Plant more trees, or make sure that you've got good regeneration coming up from seed, and monitor, treat, repeat. A lot of times when people are taking away things like English ivy or vinca or Japanese stilt grass or garlic mustard, things that are growing along the ground, they do plant back ground covers to try to regain a foothold there so that something bad isn't seeding back in. One group that I know of in Annapolis that's been working on this has had great success with planting Pachyra aurea back into those places where they had garlic mustard, and it is like gangbusters. It really spreads out and takes hold of the space, and it is so gorgeous in the spring. Holy cow, they just have a carpet of that stuff. So two resources I have on here for you. One, the Plant Invaders of Mid-Atlantic Natural Areas Field Guide. If you're here in person, I've brought copies of this and you are welcome to take them home. If you are online, there is a link there on the screen to get a free PDF that you can download. This is a great guidebook to help you identify and know how to manage many, many, many different invasive species that are present in the Mid-Atlantic. And I'm glad to say that every plant that's in this guidebook is on the list for the Invasive Plant Advisory Committee to put through the evaluation tool. with the goal of making them illegal to grow, sell, or transport in the state of Maryland. So you're welcome to take those home. And then there was a question earlier about who to hire for this work. So these are contractors that I know work on the Eastern Shore Wetland Studies and Solutions. They are a subsidiary of Davey Tree Company. They are the company that my husband and I would always subcontract for our herbicide work because we don't carry a license. And so they are fantastic. We've really enjoyed working with them. Everybody who's on their team is knowledgeable and knows how to ID plants. And so we really like them a lot. That second, sustainable resource management, full disclosure, is my husband. He is a licensed professional forester and has been doing forest stewardship work and invasive mitigation work for 40 years. Severn Grove Ecological Design, that is actually a company that we use as a subcontractor a lot of times when we need a crew, because my husband is a one-man shop now. So they are very knowledgeable and really wonderful. Like if you've got English ivy or something like that, they're great at doing either the hand pulling or the cutting. They don't carry a licensed pesticide applicator license. So if you're looking for herbicide work, they are not the ones. And then Empire Landscaping, they, I think, do all of the above. So they've got lots of machinery and then and a skilled crew, and they also carry a licensed pesticide applicator license. So those are great resources for you. And with that, I will take questions. And do we want to take questions from the chat first?
We have one question from the chat.
Okay.
If you don't mind repeating it, because Carol had asked about what is your opinion on some more recent alternate options for removing invasives, like foraging and eating and just other types of uses instead of chopping and composting trash.
Okay, so the question was from Carol, and she wanted to know what my opinion was on choosing to forage and eat invasives versus cutting them and putting them in the trash. I am not. I know that there are some things that you can eat, such as kudzu and garlic mustard. I don't know the edibility of all of our invasives. I think that if you have kudzu in your yard and you are able to dig up that crown and make use of it as food, that's fantastic. I think that we have a huge problem, and that the number one goal should be preserving the ecosystem that is so important to all of the animals and plants that reside here. And so if there is a co-benefit of providing some food, that's great, but I don't think that your management plan should be centered around that. I think it should be centered around the most effective way to reclaim that ecosystem and get it healthy and sustainable again, especially because it is really challenging to find ways to pay for this work. It's really, really challenging, and it is not cheap. I know a lot of our larger land managers are municipalities and state agencies, and they just simply don't have the manpower or the budget to deal with it, which is why our woods look the way that they do. So, yeah, that's.
Can I ask a follow-up
Yes.
question? Because talking about eating these things, a lot of these things our deer and other animals don't eat, And then if you get rid of them, let's say you've got an hedgerow that's full of privet in multiple rows and you want to plant something native, they like to eat the native.
Yes,
So it's kind of a challenge
it's difficult.
to get rid of what they won't eat, which maybe that's partly why it was put in the first place.
Mhm.
Cows won't eat privet, and you can create a fence or whatever,
Mhm.
but I think that's part of the challenge.
It is part of the challenge. There are some native plants that are less preferred by deer, and you can choose to plant those. Sometimes with deer, it's a matter of redirecting them. Like sometimes if you can put up, yeah, like to your neighbors, yes. If you can put up like kind of three-dimensional fencing, which is just as simple as like putting up stakes and string at, you want one line of string and then maybe 5 or 6 feet in, you want a second line of string because the deer won't jump the first one when they see the second one. You can just make them get a new habit. And that is an overly simplistic answer. I know deer are a huge problem. They are a huge part of the reason why invasives have been able to take over our woodlands the way that they do is because we are overpopulated with deer and there is not enough food for them. And so they have eaten down the understory of our forests. And what has had an opportunity to come up is the stuff that we don't want. So, and deer is a hot button topic. Like some people strongly object to hunting deer, and I strongly object to the overpopulation of deer because they're causing a huge problem. We removed their predator. And so when we did that, we sort of became responsible for being their predator.
Also, we have great edible, usable plants. Like we have plenty of native plants that are like probably even higher value for people eating than a lot of the invasives would be.
Yes, that's a great, for those of you online who may not have heard Conchetta, she was saying that our native plants we have lots and lots and lots of native plants that are edible and usable by humans. That if we can get those back into the ecosystem, we can enjoy those as a food source as well. Yes, Scott.
Okay, this one sounds stupid.
Nope, there's no stupid questions.
Well, I learned some years ago about this one, talking about paper, but I learned a combination of vinegar with soap and salt.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this question.
Well,
so glad you asked this question.
But I've used it for a couple of seasons, just mainly for grass, just control the grass instead of weeding. And it seemed to work. It was a little slow. It seemed to work. What's your feeling? That's not a chemical, so what's your feeling? I
loathe that meme that comes around every summer on social media. So, for those of you online that may not have heard the question, there is a recipe that has been spreading around that's like something like vinegar, Dawn dish soap, and salt, some variation of that. That has been promoted as a safe weed killer. So my first objection to that is that you're literally salting your soil. Like if you think about it, it's like what is it in the Bible where they salted the earth as they like it was the ultimate punishment. Nothing will ever grow there again when you salt your soil. It's really, really, really damaging to the soil structure and takes a long time to get rid of it. So I never advocate for putting salt down. The vinegar, unless you're using horticultural strength vinegar, which is pretty nasty stuff, it's very caustic, it's not effective. But also that vinegar will do the same thing that an improperly formulated herbicide does. It will burn off the top. It doesn't actually kill the root. For areas where maybe you're not like, let's say along your driveway where the weeds come up in the cracks, that kind of place, the best tool that I know of is a flame weeder. It is the most fun because you literally get to go out there and burn stuff. And it will have the same effect. It's burning off the top. It probably doesn't kill the root, but eventually you'll wear it out. And it has no detriment to anything else around it. And once you buy it, you've bought it. I mean, I guess you'll have to buy propane for it now and again, but it doesn't take much. I really don't like that formula, but I know that it spreads around. Like every year that meme comes around. People are like, oh, this is great. Yeah. So I'm so glad you brought it up because I don't advocate for that. Yeah, thank you.
And what does it do to the, critters that live?
Well, I mean, the vinegar is going to change the pH of your soil. And, yeah. So, yeah.
And not kill the roots.
And not kill the roots.
So,
yeah.
We'll just come right back.
Yes.
Or you destroy the soil, salt too, and then you can
Yeah. Any other questions? No more questions? Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming. And oh, wait, I do have one more thing I want to tell you all. I almost forgot. So ShoreRivers has our Tree the Shore program, which is an urban canopy initiative. We are looking for places to plant trees. And I'm standing in Denton, which is a place where we have planted very few trees and very much want to plant more trees this year. And so Scott, want to talk to you about identifying some places around town that we can do that. I had talked to your public works guys before, and they had mentioned one park, but I really want to get some street trees going around town if we can work together on that.
I would say we could. That comes up a lot, and I'm certainly a proponent for that. But we have challenges.
Yes, absolutely. But additionally, if you live in town or in, like I would say, a more densely populated HOA, like let's say you live on less than half an acre HOA, a walkable community, we want to plant front yard trees. So they don't have to go, in the verge on town property. They can go in your front yard. They just have to be facing the public. And we are looking for places to plant those trees. And if you're interested in that, you can email me or you can go on ShoreRivers website and look under our work and you'll see a tab for Tree the Shore.
What if there's our new housing building plan? And you work with developers?
We cannot. So because this is a grant funded program, when developers plant trees, they are planting trees that they're required to plant as mitigation, and we cannot fund mitigation.
And they're required to plant trees anyway.
That depends on where it is. No, they are not. Okay, that's great.
Jennifer, can she hear me?
Developers.
Well, they're required to plant trees, and usually, in my experience, what we say is they have to choose species that are only efficiently on street trees.
But those are not native trees.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know in the past we referred to that list.
Okay.
So to answer your question,
Okay.
you have work to do here.
I have so much work to do.
And
So much work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yes.
We can help with that too.
That would be great. We should put our heads together on that. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. I'm going to turn off my microphone then. And all right, thank you for coming.